Someone asked me the other day if what's the most common falls that businesses nowadays experience, or what are the most common things that businesses oftentimes forget nowadays. It came to me that the most common thing that I've observed that the businesses nowadays doesn't do anymore is the nurture sequence. So, what is the nurture sequence? The nurture sequence is where you stay on top of the clients that you've already worked with, or already the clients that already seen you. And oftentimes, just because that the conversion rate sometimes of this type of scenarios is not that great, businesses tend to forget it right away. So, when do you nurture? So most clients, and this is based on data, by the way, but a big percentage of the people who buys products from certain brands, and most of the sales that's from big brands are from repeat buyers. So nurture sequence is a great method of maintaining your client, and not only maintaining your client, making sure that when the client decides on something that has something to do with your business, automatically you're the first one that they're going to remember. So the thing is, it's kind of tricky sometimes, especially when it comes to providing emphasis for people that hasn't really converted in reactivation in the nurture sequence to oftentimes endorse what the effective nurture sequence is. An effective nurture sequence needs to be personalized to how people know you. So your brand needs to translate to your nurture sequence, especially whatever brand you're trying to push. So for example, I'll give you a rough example. So in real estate, I've worked with tons of realtors, so many that I couldn't even remember the exact number of how many realtors I've worked with. Oftentimes, in decision making of when to sell or when to buy a house, it takes a lot of time. It takes a certain period of time before a client or before a buyer or seller sells or buy a house. And oftentimes, the decision needs to be reinforced, or the client needs to be tapped multiple times. That's the reason why it's so important to have a nurture sequence, especially for those clients that you already have worked with. Having a nurture sequence is keeping your clients up to date that you're still doing business and you're still willing to do business with referrals or friends that they got. One of the clients that I worked with 3 years ago had a list of at least 3,500 homeowners on a certain state in the United States. So this list of 3,500 was in a certain city. So since it's a city, it's a pretty targeted place to be in, and we were able to get, like, within a week, when we activated the nurture sequence that we built for that client, we got like 12 people who was trying to decide whether to sell or buy a house. So the thing is, sometimes the leads that we're trying to find is already on the databases that we have, and that's where nurture sequence comes in. Every single leads that you have in your CRM or wherever spreadsheet that you put your clients on needs to undergo a nurture sequence or a reactivation sequence, enabled for us to make sure that there are no clients left in there anymore. And of course, while you're working with this one, you also need to understand that you need to think about the move forward actions of how you're going to go things. So even though you've closed or sell or bought a house or whatever product you've sold the clients on, you need to make sure that the clients remember who you are. Depending on the business that you have, you can make a newsletter as a nurture sequence to keep your clients updated of what you're doing in a monthly basis or a quarterly basis. At least you get in front of them from time to time. Oftentimes, people tends to overcomplicate how to build a nurture sequence. Is It could be as simple as of an update of what's the current news on a state or in the city. So it's crucial to have this nurture sequence. It's because you demonstrate your expertise you build trust and credibility at the same time during this process. So that kind of like struck me that most of the clients that I start working with, as early as 10 days or as early as the third day that I work with them, and when I ask them if they have a current nurture sequence that they're currently doing for their database, nothing is happening. A nurture sequence could be as easy as a one email a month type of thing. It's good. It's to keep your clients updated of what's currently happening right now. And it's not that hard to do. And I think this is something that's oftentimes being looked over for business owners. That's going to do the business really good if just utilized correctly and if it's applied correctly. And I hope this helps. Thanks.